So let's look at the role played by enterprise data catalog in the entire storyline, right? So this is done typically by your data analysts or data scientists or data owners. The typical person of these folks are very much, focused on data. They are technical folks. They are very little. They will have any, smell of the governance side of the story. So you cannot expect them to talk in terms of governance language. They are the people who will understand things from the technical language. They are the people who come into play in your catalog lifeline. Okay. So what this catalog is all about? I know most of you have heard or visited multiple places in Informatica to understand about this catalog. Yes, this catalog is a huge thing for us. Catalog is a huge thing for the customer. Why? Because it will do multiple things for them in terms of their data, right? So you are going to see that. You're going to see it in person during this training, how the data is, how powerful this tool can be, and what it does for us. So on one side of the flow, we have the metadata that comes from various, locations. Either it could be sitting on cloud, it could be on-prem, or it could be, something sitting on a C drive or a J drive of your computer. It could be the operational usage of your metadata. So everything that you think is deemed fit as a metadata as a source can be injected through the enterprise data catalog. You can also supply or feed in the business context information like glossary, policies, processes. Those can be those can come either from your tools like data governance tools, or it could be coming from in your security tools as well, like data privacy management. And on top of that, this data can have layers of wisdom on top of that in terms of comments, ratings, behaviors, and the tags and various, cache that gets captured as and along with your metadata, right? And once that is all fed into and is all discovered and all is measured through the catalog has its own artificial intelligence called as Claire, and this will do multiple things for you in defining or building your knowledge graph, right? And that is something that you will help you later on in taking sharing this information. Whatever data that you have will be converted into some sort of an information to various stakeholders here. Either it could go to a self-service analytics, like somebody who's on Google, who can treat this as Google for their enterprise data assets. If they can look out for the exact data lineage, the relationship view between various, metadata assets, and how does it look from a business context for a governance specialist who could be a data steward or a data engineer or a business end user who would want to, uh, marry the business and the technical lineage, and also they can use this to measure or track the data elements compliance. And finally, the various set of individuals in terms of architects and developers. These are the people who would like to understand the column level lineage and the change impact that would bring that this data would bring into their day-to-day routine, and they may want to take the necessary action on how and what this data is all about, and how the business would do well or do bad or do good when whatever we are facing now. So there may be a set of people who may want to use this data catalog to understand the way the business is happening, the way the data is flowing, and all that information can be, you can even look at scenarios in today's world, how enterprise catalog can play a constructive role in the success of any organization. So as I said, it's a very compelling solution for you, where it can be used by various users. Somebody who's doing self-service analytics, to somebody who's doing data quality, engineering activities, or somebody is looking at from a cloud perspective. There are multiple open APIs and full access to this Claire or the engine. This is our operating system for your metadata. Okay, so the operating system is not just restricted to one type of data source or whatever is supported, you can connect them through open APIs. And the breadth of metadata that we offer, you can see this. So you name it and you have it most of the times. Some of them might not be available. You can directly connect through third-party APIs, and you can perform the metadata, search and do various things through this very dynamic solution, right from discovery to change notification, data certification, primary foreign keys at discovery. This is something that got released in the latest release of EDC. So you can do all those things that would, deem you to, take your data, visibility or data administration to the next level. Why I'm giving this background is because that plays a very important role. If you see this image, governance is where we are focusing on bringing in catalog into our storyline and landscape. So what this integration is all about, okay? Well, EDC integrates with Axon. It helps you to automate the process for acquiring the data assets by doing a proper discovery of the data assets and those assets which are critical to your data governance program. There are multiple data sets that are there that EDC discovers, but not all that data will be needed by your data governance program, right? So there may be some data like, okay, hey, the people who are entering the campus and leaving the campus, that might be some data which is captured in some system, some database, and that may not be quite something what the data governance software is looking for or the data governance program is looking for, right? So what is critical, what is important for your governance program, for your organization's governance program, you can, link it and bring it under the ambit of your governance, right? So EDC is a bigger pool. It's like a ocean, and you're only digging or you're going to be pulling some amount of water or the required amount of water, which has an impact into your governance program. Okay. So eventually, what you are going to do with that, you are going to allow both the IT and the business to share the common or the some sort of an unison between the IT and business, so that the technical and business language are are synchronized, and you have a single source of truth or a single voice for management to act upon. By doing this integration, you are going to link up systems and resources, the business glossary or the business definition items with your data domains. What are these data domains? We'll see that. And later on, this is linked to the catalog metadata. Then the linkage of the data sets on the glossary, on the data governance side with the actual tables and files, and the attributes facet with the fields and columns. So these are the different, relationships that are established by performing this integration of EDC with Axon. Before I move further, this is a critical slide for me because it will help you to understand how each of them are mapped. If you look at the slide deck, on the left-hand side, what we have is the logical layer. On the right-hand side, what we have the physical layer. So what is business definition? This is the business guy, okay? The Axon guy is a pure business guy. He is not able to understand the technical metadata language. Same applies to the EDC guy as well. So they both are, are in two different pedestals. They are not on the same line. So we need to make that very clear in our mind. So these are two different sets of, individuals who don't, talk the same language. Okay. So in that scenario, how do you establish the relationship? So what happens here is the business glossary, the business definition glossaries are now sent or now linked to the physical world. So you have to have some sort of a bridge that is being built upon. So that bridge is built by sending the business glossary information into the EDC side. This is the first injection that I'm putting here. Okay. So once I'm putting this injection, what happens here is on the data catalog side, I have something called as data domains. These data domains are my entities that will help me to, discover whether I'm discovering a credit card number or whether I'm discovering a first name or a last name, date of birth, social security number, or anything of that sort. So that definition I'm going to define in this entity called data domain, and this is very much an EDC or the physical or a technical language. So I'm going to establish a relationship between these glossaries which I've injected from Axon into EDC, and I'm going to establish some sort of a relationship between them. Whether I can do this by sitting in Axon, whether I have to do it by going into EDC side, this is something that we'll see in our labs. Okay. And next is, once I have established the relationship, what will happen is, since this data domain is discovering the column here, so since this relationship is already set up, the column is automatically linked to the glossary here, right? Because there is a credit card number. So this credit card number is now apparently very clearly identified by my data domain on the physical layer. Now this specific credit card number is now linked to the business glossary associated with credit card number. Okay, so now it is the physical information is now sent back or is now established. You're going to establish a sure connection between the business language and the actual column level information or the physical language. So once this information is established, this is now sent back to Axon here. Okay, so this information is now now is party to the Axon dashboard or the Axon interface. Now, whether I'm going to have it as a column name, whether I'm going to how do I represent it on the Axon side? So I'm going to represent that as an attribute here. So every column will become an attribute for me, and every table on which this column is hosted will become a data set for me. Axon can have physical data sets related to table, and it can have non-physical related data sets as well. So Axon is just a subset of the data sets that it might host. Now eventually it could have a schema, or it could be a database here, and I would like to associate it with a system here. So at a system could be your HR could be a system. HR can have multiple resources. HR can have a database for employees. HR can have a database for contractors. HR can have a database for Europe, North America. HR can have multiple resources. So all that now will be linked to this one big mega system on the Axon side. So in that way, this is now a mighty representation of various resources. The associated tables, the associated columns, all will now be can be now seen from the business layer. So this gives a very compelling situation for an end user, because now he will not have to go to the physical layer and look at for all these information. He can by his fingertips from his system, he can see what are the different resources that are linked. What is the you can even see these things at a very columnar level in the form of attributes. So that gives him a very complete picture here. Okay, so now we will see how we can establish all of them one by one. Right. So with that, we will move further and we will see how this entire play works. Okay. So we will see the concept of onboarding the data, and then how we can interpret the results on Axon side. So the data that you are going to feed in, it is done by something we call it as onboarding. So there are three ways of onboarding your metadata into Axon from EDC side. Okay. So we'll see them one by one. So what you are going to onboard here, as I said, you are establishing the relationship between multiple resources and a system, right? So that is something that you have to physically or manually do that, because as I said, HR is your system. There may be 5 or 6 sources or resources from where your HR data is linked to a system. So you have to manually link them, and this is something you can do it on the Axon side as of now. And after that, the journey of onboarding starts. The first and the foremost thing is all user link columns to glossaries. This is something which is very manual and is very laborious. We'll see what this is all about. The second one is all user accepted columns to glossary via domain association. So this is more of, I would call it as some sort of an intelligence is involved, okay, where you will go based on what the data domain has discovered. As I said, the credit card number is a simple example. So all columns which have credit card number, which have written credit card number, will be associated to the business glossary of credit card through the data domain. Okay, because that my data domain is my way of measuring whether that field is credit card or not. Either I might be doing a simple metadata discovery, or I might be doing a data match discovery. Okay, so that is another way of bringing it. The third one is the discovered columns. So what I mean by discovered columns is you are measuring it, you're finding out various data, you're curating the data, and then doing the glossary association automatically. Okay, we'll see how this happens. And the last one is probably the most compelling one, where the columns have been discovered to glossary association via data domain. So this is where you will bring in a lot of automation into play, and no user will be allowed here. So you will allow the tool to take control, and these are the two. This is more of the third one is bit of intelligence. The fourth one is intelligent and automatic. How they are, I will just show you the next few slides. The first two are basically your manual thing, where the user will painstakingly sit in front of the computer and look at each one of them and then assign that. But that may not be a very attractive situation for an enterprise. How and why, we will see that in the next few slides, and also the demo that I will be doing. Manual, as I said, is very simple. Okay, you have a system called HR, you have a resource called HR employees, you do a physical connection between them, and you go to, because the integration is already set up, you run the manage catalogs links UI, and then go and do the physical connection one-to-one, and sit and look at each and every field, and try to marry each and every attribute to the field column. And it is a very slow process, but it is very accurate. Why it can be very accurate? Why? Because you are spending a lot of time, but it is no way scalable. If you have hundreds of systems and hundreds of resources, thousands of tables, this is not a place to be in, right? So this is how it starts, but this is where you may want to start. If you're doing, if you gone to your customer site and you are doing your first project, customer has discovered a specific resource. It could be an Oracle resource, or it could be a cloud resource, and your data now is now seen on the Axon side, and you may want to physically link that just to get a feel of how things would slowly but surely start. It is like when you're learning your driving for the first day, you may want to take a road, or you may want to go to a ground where where you are officially allowed to learn your driving, or get a feel of your driving. So that is your manual time. But what is more important is the intelligent mode of driving, or when you are becoming very smart enough, when you know what is there on the other side, what are the physical assets that are discovered. So that is where intelligent and automation will come into play. There are two different stages of onboarding your data with less manual intervention. So as I said, I'll show you in the demo what I mean by this. So you're onboarding physical assets here, okay, into Axon. And you may want to be with a lot of caution here. Why? Because you are relying on your glossary to be very mature. What I mean by mature glossary is, like, credit card number is a very easy thing to discover and associate, right? Because 16-digit number or 14-digit number, if it follows the Lulan formula, then you know that it's a credit card number, right? So that becomes easy. However, if there is some other, let's say date of birth. Date of birth, it is a very relative term. Any date can be a date of birth or cannot be a date of birth, right? So in that scenario, you are association with your specific data domain and how confident you are with respect to your physical metadata or the data that has been discovered. So that will all come into play, because you don't want to have a situation where you will have a wrong date being treated as date of birth, right? So in that scenario, the validity of the data will also be the maturity of that data in terms of its physical metadata and actual data will all play a crucial role in the eventual, association and importing that physical metadata as, attributes into your Axon site. So once you are confident enough, you define some confidence scores. We'll see how this can be defined. An onboarding script comes into play. This onboarding script will run every day at 2 a.m. in the morning by Axon, and it will pull in all the data from the EDC side, all the fresh data into Axon, and it will help you to establish that, set of attributes or your columnar data into the Axon side for a given glossary. And once you brought in here, the next thing is curation, whether to accept it or not. I brought my data, I may want to accept it. I may not want to accept it. So whether you want to do it manually or based on your confidence score, if it meets some 95 or 90%, you will automatically accept that data with a pinch of salt. So that is something we can decide on the tool itself. And you're going to do this during the training itself, okay, during the lab. So who will do what? I know this question comes up very often to me. Who will do what? Can a single guy, can I be the, can I become a, everything here? Can I be the all-rounder here? Can I do everything here? No, the answer is simple, no, okay. There are multiple different personas that come into play. The glossaries are defined by the glossary definition owner. Somebody from the Axon side is somebody who will be responsible for upkeep and maintenance of the glossary on the Axon side. From the business side, he will be a business layer level user. So this glossary information is shared with the catalog admin on the EDC side, and this is now discovered, or this is how shared onto the EDC. We will do this job. We will see how this glossary will be on the Axon side. We will create this link. We will send the glossary information into EDC and then do the domain association and curation. So this is done by typically a technical subject matter expert. Okay. And once that is done, once the data is actually discovered on the EDC side, the discovered assets are sent back into the Axon side, and it will be reviewed by the subject matter expert or the data steward here. He or she will then take and will associate that resources, and then eventually, you can create, this link is automatically created, but whether you want to accept it or reject it is taken care here. Either you may want to do an intelligent onboarding, or you may want to totally onboard, and depending upon how you curate it, and this is technical lineage is also, viewed on the EDC side. The good part that has happened in Axon 7.0 is that this technical lineage, what is technical lineage, anyway, I'll show it in the demo, is now visible on the Axon side as well. So you need not have to go to the EDC window and see that information. You can still see that information on the Axon side. This is something that is, as I said, is a feature in Axon 7.0. Okay. So the approach here is you think big and start small. So don't go for a big bang theory and convince customer to do everything in an automated and an intelligent mode. Okay. So you may want to start it manually. Start with a small, a single resource, discover it, map it to the system, then see those columnar information or the field information on Axon side, physically map them, manually get involved, manually link them, and then try to run a standard rule or data quality rule and measure the quality, and and then once you're convinced, with all that what you're seeing, then slowly push the intelligent mode. And once intelligent mode reaches some level of maturity or confidence, then you can unleash the automated mode of data onboarding. Okay, so how it works? Basically, when you are discovering your data, either you discover in two ways. One, when you do data profiling, you use the data domain association and also the column similarity. These are the two different distinct options that you would employ, and we will be doing this in our lab today. So we'll do a data domain association and also a column similarity tests on the data that we have. And if there is no data profiling option, if you are not going to employ that, and you can just go with the column name match. I always see this to be a very dangerous thing. Why? Because until you are not confident with the column name, don't go for this, because it might lead to wrong, lot of false positives coming into play. Because somebody might, if I ask the 20 people who are on the training, how do you write the column for credit card number? So everyone will come up with their own option. So whether your metadata is smart enough to understand that as the credit column for credit card number, just based on the column name, is anybody's guess. Okay, so you employ any one of these options. You can do both data and metadata profiling. That's the best option. But these are the different options which the discovery technique you can employ for your data that is going to be the layer on your towards your data governance program. Okay, so how do you associate data domains with glossaries? So you can do it in two places here. Either you can do it, you need not have to go to enterprise catalog. Okay, so you can go to your glossary and Axon side and then do an association. You can do multiple domain association with a single glossary. Okay, second one is you can go to EDC and then do a glossary to data domain association, right? So these are the two options, but business user can still have a command in associating it from the platform of Axon interface itself. I will just show you during the demo. The last thing, which is a usual question which comes to me, is, hey, I want to create a new data domain. Can I do it from a Axon? The answer is straightforward, no. You cannot create a new data domain in Axon. It's a pure technical activity. You have to leave that to the persona who is involved in creating data domain, because it involves some bit of technical things there. Because data domain creation is not just giving a name to it. You need to define the reference tables, or you may want to write a regex pattern, or you may want to associate both the metadata and data types or the mappings. So it's all technical thing. It has to be done by a technically qualified SME on the EDC side. Okay. Now to decide whether I'm going for intelligent or an automated curation, I have something called as confidence score. Okay, this confidence score is nothing but the maximum of the domain match score. How many domains or percentage of the, let's say in my domain, let's say I'll take the social security number. Okay, and social security number I have 100 records. Whether it is 80% match or 90% match, you can decide on that. If it matches 90%, then I will take that as my confidence score. Anything below 80-90%, I am not going to automatically consider that. I will onboard it, but still the final decision whether I have to accept or reject is dependent on my on the end user on the Axon interface. The second one is column similarity. You also want to take a call on how similar the column is and with respect to your some of the things that is already there in your cleared behavior, cleared database. So you'll use bit of an artificial intelligence and say if the column similarity matches about 90% or 95%, I'll go with it. Or if you have some number for the name match, in case you're not going for data profiling, just based on the name match, you may want to go for it. So what eventually happen is the maximum of any one of these three will be picked up as the confidence score of that particular social security number. And if it is 94% is the maximum, this is 94, the second one is 93, and the third one is 90, then it will look for the maximum one of it, and so it will try to err on the caution side, and it will take 94% and check with the confidence score that you have defined for the tool, and if it is above that confidence score, then it will automatically accept the objects. If it is not, then it will intelligently onboard, but it will not accept it. So you have to manually go and curate those objects on the Axon side. Is this concept clear? I'll show it in the system, so maybe it will be better. So what gets created in Axon? Just because of that specific physical field, just once it is getting onboarded, the associated table or the folder will be, that information will be relayed into the Axon as data sets. The attributes will also come into the Axon, and this can either you can use the specific column name, or you can use the glossary name there. Let's say you have a glossary called email. Okay, so you may want to say that they should have the glossary name with some extension, or you may want to use the column name coming in as an attribute for that glossary. You can still do that. And if anything that has been onboarded will be set as origin is in enterprise catalog. Okay, and with 7.0, what you are able to see is the lineage as well. If there is a decent lineage on the EDC for that specific data, that can be now seen on the Axon side. That is an enrichment that you would see in this version of Axon. Okay, and how do you curate that? So you can curate it either on the glossary page or on the data tab within that, or if you're not comfortable doing it one by one, you can do a bulk unison update. So we have a lab on how do you bulk import some data. So you can use that approach, and whatever is there, you can curate saying that, hey, this is I accept it or reject it. Based on whatever you are accepting or rejecting, then that will be that API call will be relayed back, and those will be removed as associated items from that specific glossary. That is as part of the onboarding process. Okay. So the onboarding object option is basically disabled, and let's see where is this and how do you set up this and how do you set up the confidence score. We will see all that in our lab and in the demo, and you will be doing this. Okay. Okay. I will quickly enter into the tool, and I'll do a bit of a demo here. I know there is a demo at the end, but I will split this demo and show the first piece of the story so that you will get to know what I'm trying to say here. Okay, so I'll quickly give an overview of the images that has been shared with you. I know some of you are familiar with our images. As you know, these are all demo ready images. These are given to you, so this will be there with you even after the training. So you need not have to get into any panic mode. You can bring these images up and run these whenever you want. You can do this quite often. So what we have on these tools, okay? We have multiple products. As I said, these are all set up to auto launch. They have been auto scripted in the backend. These are all our live products. There is no magic here. These are all the actual live products that you will be seeing on the customer side. Okay. So all the links are listed here. So when you are using your lab, you can launch these links. There is Axon. There is Enterprise Data Catalog. there is the DPM or data privacy management. Then you have the data archive. There are other tools which are all provided for your usage, and you can use them. But for our training, we will be needing these three links. Okay. And how do you log in? So as I said, you need not have to spend your energy on logging in. So you can use these login scripts. So since we are using this insurance demo data in this lab, this is a brand new lab that is being created with insurance data, and you can use these logins as prescribed in the lab guide. Okay. And let's say if I am asked to log in as John Admin, what you have to do is make sure that you launch this page and just click on John Admin, and there is a JavaScript that will trigger, and it will allow you to log in into the Axon interface itself. Okay. And in the same fashion, as far as enterprise catalog is concerned, right? So I can see the enterprise catalog page. What I can do here is, how did I bring this up? There is my enterprise catalog here. I can bring it up, and I can use the login here, either as administrator or as a data owner. I can just log in and play around the way it has been asked in the lab. Okay. The same applies for the other links as well. Like if I want to see what is happening in the administrator console, I can go and launch that. I need to use that quite a few times in the lab. So I can click on the admin console. So you can log in as an administrator into the into this interface and see the status of all your services. In case your EDC is not getting launched or your DPM is not getting launched, so what you have to see is you have to first go and check on this page. Okay. So some of you have been asking me, hey, some services are not coming up. What should I do? And all those things. So you can see that if something is not up, what you can go into do is you can go and hit the recycle service. If some service is coming up or not coming up, you can take a call on that by looking at these services. And now I'm going to I intentionally had pulled them down. So this will come up very soon. Okay, right? So these services will start, and once all these services are up and running, and you should be able to access them. I'm just kept this couple of pages open here. Some of you would have a scenario where hey, all my 3 images are up and running, and I'm not able to see some of these tools not coming up. The reason could be very simple. Okay, first make sure that the private IPs of all your AMIs are updated in the Windows hosts file. Make sure that the entries are all entered here. You have to enter only the private IP. That is where the first catch is. The second catch is go and launch the WinSCP, which is there on your desktop. Click on data governance and privacy. And how do I see this? In case some of you are not familiar with this. So go click on WinSCP. Okay. And click to each one of these links and click on login, right? And as soon as you log in, and just make sure that you go to the hosts file, which is documented in the lab guide. Okay, and make sure that these carry the same entries of what you have here. Okay, so it should be a carbon copy of what you see here on both the boxes here. So there are 2 boxes here. One is the SATS4, which is your domain box, where all your Axon EDC is installed. So make sure that these entries are same as what you see here, right? And you need to log in as root, or even if you're using other users, use the sudo option. Just follow the guide that I shared with you in the email, okay, the other day as part of welcome mail, and make sure that the same entries are entered in the SATS4 Hadoop. This is my Hadoop cluster that I need to run my EDC. This is not needed for my Axon, but when I'm bringing in enterprise data catalog into the mix, I need this box also to be running. Okay, so make sure that the same IPs are reflected in all the 3 places. And once you make those changes, save those files. Again, how to save, this is all documented in that document. Just follow the steps, and then make sure that the boxes, if you can reboot them. The best way is because this Hadoop SATS4 has Oracle Express Edition on it, and once you have made the updates to the IP address, it is always recommended to reboot that instance. Just type reboot from a root user and wait for 15 minutes, and automatically once it is rebooted, once your IPs are up to date, all the services will come up one by one, and in, let's say, in half an hour, all your services will be smooth and running on your image. Okay. Now let me go back to the home page of Axon, right? I logged in as John admin. I know some of you had sent me an email saying that, hey, we don't see any data on our instance, and what should I do? This is something that is there in the lab. I will come to that later on. So what are you going to see here? So this is what you're going to see. So we have a subset of insurance demo data that we have arranged for you. So what that is all about is some good amount of data that will help you to do a good demo for an insurance customer, right? So there are multiple systems, there are data sets, there are glossaries, there are attributes, some data quality rules, some standard regulations, right from CCPA to GDPR, and multiple policies, and there are quite a bit of information on this page. Okay, right? So with this, where do I start now? Okay, where do I start? So from an EDC integration perspective, my first thing that I have to do is go to John admin, who is my super admin. Click on the admin panel. Okay, and as I said, this is Axon 7.0. This is still a beta version. Again, I'm making it very clear, this is a beta version. So the new release is not yet out. So that will be out sometime later this week or next week. And if you want to continue with this, well and good for these labs. However, if you want to do an upgrade or if you want to change to the GA version, you can still do that by getting a copy of Axon 7.0. Or else, if you need something from my side, you can send me a note. I can share the same instance, which will have the GA version of Axon 7.0. Okay. Some of you are familiar with Axon. So this is my place where the administrator or the super administrator will have some work to do. Okay. Now, where do I start my integration with EDC? I have to click on customize and configure here and go to system settings. Right, and click on enterprise data catalog in this drop down. Right, so when I'm going here, I need to feed these values. So the value that I provided, I need to enter them. The catalog server host, the port which it is consuming. How do I know that information? How is something that you can find out from this link which I just opened. Okay, it is consuming port number 9553. Further, how can I find? I can go to the admin console, click on something called catalog service, right? And you can say that go to the processes tab, and there it will tell me about what is the port that it is consuming, okay, or through which the data traffic is being relayed upon. Okay, just note down that from this information, or if you don't have, Axon administrator may not have all this information, you need to get this information from the enterprise data catalog administrator. Okay, then provide the catalog server username and password, right? And then what is the namespace? Usually it is native, so you can retain that. And there is something called as enterprise data catalog resource name. This is known as Axon EDC. So what this is all about, I'll come to that. And by default, as I said, you may not want to do automatic onboarding. Initially, it will be set to false. you may want to change it to true. And whether you want to accept the lineage recommendations, this is something which is a feature in 7.0. What this means is any lineage that you are going to see on the EDC side will be created automatically on the Axon side, provided you set this Boolean value to true. Okay. And what about the confidence threshold? So how much you would rely on? So anything above 50 to 100, you can set up as your confidence score, the threshold onto which you may want to auto onboard the object, right? So you will set up the threshold for data to be onboarded, and whether you want to accept it or not, again, you can say it yes or no, right? And then you may want to have some super admin email for notification purpose. And finally, the onboarded objects or the fields or columns, what should be the name? Whether you want to have the physical field name to be used or the glossary name, you can take a call on that. So once you provide all this information, then you have to run a specific script called param sync that you will be doing it from the Axon server side that is documented in the lab guide. I will not go into that now. So after you run the param sync command, what happens is the HTTPD and the memcached microservices will restart, and then you will be ready for the integration. So what do you find on the EDC side, right? So you might be curious to know what is it that I'm able to see on the EDC side. So the first thing is EDC comes up with two URLs. One is the administrator for the metadata, that is called as LDM admin or the enterprise data catalog administrator, and the other one is LDM catalog or the EDC catalog. This is licensed, so if you want to access this link, the customer has to pay for it, whereas the EDC administrator console is more of your dashboard to manage your physical metadata assets, so for which you have an access. The administrator has an access. Now I'll click on the LTM admin. So a new link will open. And since I opened it from the admin console, it launches automatically for me. And here I can see all the things like I can monitor what are the resources, how many Oracle databases have been discovered, how many Hive, Amazon. These are all actual systems that have been discovered. Okay. So what you see is a live system, a file system, Salesforce, Power Center. There are other resources that have been discovered. And there are multiple things that you will be seeing here. There's a Tableau data that already been discovered, and since Tableau is licensed, we had given a temp license. So in case you have an official Tableau license, you can apply and use that utility with this instance as well. Okay. Now I'll click on this open, and you can see there are multiple places, assets that you can see here. The most important thing for me here is data domains. If you remember, I was telling about this, right? So how do I differentiate an account number and age, right? So that is where is being defined in this item called data domain. So when I'm looking at age here, for example, I can define my how should the data rule should be there, how my metadata rule should be there, how should I accept it, what is the percentage, and what is the row, how if there is one row, should I accept it or not. So there are multiple things that I can define in this here. So the rules are again they are set of mappings, and you can view those mappings, and you can you can build on these mappings from the developer client. So this is where I'm going to associate that. It could be a simple regex pattern, or it could be some sort of logic that you may want to define. And you need not worry about that. The partners or the the implementers need not worry about, hey, I have to do all these hundreds of data domains. I will better look for a new job. No, not do that. Because there are multiple data domains that are already provided for you. So Informatica has done that job for you. There are 110 or 115 data domains that are provided to you out of the box. You may have to just apply them. Okay, you need not worry about creating a new data domain. So these are all data domains which are already there, like credit card number. It will also have out of the box data domains to discover Amex, Steiner's, discover discover a card on multiple options, or it can how to discover a driving license of USA and Great Britain. Those are all provided. How do you differentiate an email? How do you differentiate that with an employee number and age? So all those things, the standard things are provided to you. You can go and change these in the backend. Some of the people who are comfortable with playing around mappings, they can do that. Again, some standard full names, first name, last name have been provided. If you want to change that subset and have your own dictionary of first name, in case you're working in Europe or if you're working in India, the first names of US will not have any significance. You may want to change that list, or you want to create a new data domain. You can do all those things, and you can. This is where they are all created. Note that these are not created in EDC, sorry, not created in Axon. These have to be invariably created in EDC itself. And how do I create my rule? How do I play around my rule? All those things, they can be done in two places here. So either you can, we have provided you a developer, this anyway, on your instance, I have the 10.4 developer client. You can just launch that and get into that. That is one way of getting into the to the nuts and bolts of these data domains. Another way of getting into the nuts and bolts of data domains is through the analyst service. So you can click on analyst service, and that will help you, to access those rules, and you can feel and touch those data domain rules here. Okay. So we'll not go into that side. Okay. So that is very much there here. So you can go and click on the various rules, reference tables, rule specifications. So this is also a different domain. We'll not focus on that in this training. Now, assuming that I have all my data in place, now what can I do now? I am now wearing the hat of a data owner or a data scientist. I am now going to see the sales data here. Okay. As I said, this is the Google. This will help you to get a feel of things like in Google, right? Okay, great. So I'm going to pick something which I'm comfortable here. Which anyway you're going to touch in your lab. I'm going to look at my sales global information here. So I'll click on this sales global. So what is this all about? This contains sales, all the sales data for a specific client. It has two tables. It has specifically represents one database and one schema. Okay. So let me click on the tables here. So it has two tables. One is GDPR and the other one is insurance data, right? I'll click on insurance data here, right? So what I'm able to see is it's showing something which is interesting. It's showing me the sample columns. There are different tabs here, which we'll talk about them one by one. I'll now click on columns here. Okay. So what it contains data related to insurance matters. So let me click on columns here. Right. So it says that, hey, it has found some amount, there is some value it has found, there's a car type it has discovered, there's a city that it has discovered, right? And there is some match, some of them is non-distinct, some of them is distinct. So it has done some work for me, like credit card number, it looks like it's very beautifully done. 99% of the data is matching. Currency, there is some match. And in some places you see something called as insured party email address. Some places we call party name. So you can see all these things, and there is some traffic here. And this has an hyperlink here. So let me click on what this hyperlink is all about. Let me go to this thing here for email here. So what this is the link. So what this opens here. So this opens to me and shows something interesting here. It shows me, it says it's an insured party email address. And basically it says some Axon EDC insurance data and all those things. So I can go ahead back here and see what this Axon EDC means. So basically these are Axon glossaries. So the business glossaries is what I'm able to see here. If you recollect what I was telling in the beginning, so these glossary items are now have been listed here. So where these glossary items were? So these glossary items I can go and see this in the Axon side. So if I click on search, if I click on glossaries here, right? So there are 65 of them here, right? Insurance data, data recipient, multiple of them. So those are now seen here, right? Oh, sorry. So those 65, you see this highlight here, they're seen here. How did I get them here? I went to the catalog administrator, and if I click on resources, eventually this is something you will be doing, okay? So this is my Axon EDC. So what is this all about? This is the Axon glossaries. I created this resource on the Axon, EDC administrator, and I pulled in all this information into the enterprise catalog side, right? So I gave all the basic information that it needs. And is it schedulable? Yes, this can be scheduled. So what I mean by that is it a one-time job? Yes, you can say it is a one-time job. Can I schedule it to come on a regular basis? Because there will be a separate, data steward or a glossary steward who will be updating the, glossaries here. They might be adding new glossaries, or he might be, modifying the existing glossaries. So all that thing will be happening on the Axon side. How do I make sure that I get the latest version? So you can do that. You can schedule it on a regular basis, daily, weekly, monthly, or you can have your own ad hoc schedule, and you can do it in different basis. So whenever schedule that you set up, automatically it will go here and pick all the latest and the greatest information, and it will bring and feed that information here. And if I go to the monitoring tab, it will tell me about the status, when these objects were imported, at what time, and it will be a recurring activity in case you schedule it. So why did I do that? So once I brought all this information here, I can easily link it to the data domains, right? So the data domain linkage, as I said, it can be done in two ways. One, either I can go and do it here manually. I can go and click on them one by one, Axon glossaries, and then I can associate with the data domain. Okay, I can do that here. Okay, I can find that, and I can do some association by selecting the right type of data domain here. I can do that, one way of doing that. But I'm a smart guy. I don't want to do that there. Okay, what I can do here is I can go here. I can select something right away on the Axon side. And this is, mind you, this is a one-time activity. Okay, you need not have to do it on a regular basis. Once you associate, and then you can get the ball rolling. Okay, so click on edit option. This is my glossary item here. Okay, and now this is all predefined. Either you can manually type in, or you're going to do a bulk upload. I'll come to that aspect later on. Click on data tab here. Right now I can associate those data domains from the Axon page itself. If I click on the pencil icon, just because I've set up the integration, I should be able to see all the data domains here. So the Axon business user has the privilege of associating them one by one depending upon the relevance here. Okay, so if he's not able to find something that he wants to add, but it is not there, you can hit the button create. So you can see that what it is trying to say. You will be directed to Enterprise Data Catalog to create a data domain discovery rule. Okay, so what happens if you hit this part? It will go ahead and ask you to do a data domain on the administrator side. As I said, this is a pure technical activity. This cannot be done manually by an Axon administrator also. Okay, so now you can go back to the Axon. We'll go back here to the Now I will go back to the sales global table which we had here, right? So these have been associated here. So and how do I do this? How do I get this association? And what is the relevance here? We'll see that in a minute here. Okay. So for me to do that, I will have to go back to my administrator here. I'll go to the library and I'll go to Salesforce here, whatever that is asked for. I can search here. I can do I can search and I'll apply. Sorry. It is not a mistake there. Okay, let me go here. I don't know. Okay, so I have my sales global here. So click on this resource, right? I have my naming convention where this is all, and note that all this data is provided to you. So this, if I know some of you will come back to me and ask me, hey, where can I find all this information? All this data has been given to you. Okay, we have made sure that we are given all this data. This is for you to make sure you have a great demo with your customer and bring business not only to Informatica, but also to your organization as well. Okay, so we have given you all this data here. So you can log in into the Windows Oracle. So there are two Oracle Express editions. One which is consumed by the Enterprise Data Catalog, and the other one is where we have mounted all the demo data for you. Okay, so the system password is admin, and the default schema passwords are upper caps info. So you can find that all the data here, right? Let's see what the sales global contains. Okay, I can go to sales global here and click on this. So you can see that there is GDPR and sales global. And if I click on data, it will show me all the data that I have, right? So how much data that I have? I should have quite an amount of data here. So we have made it look as powerful it could be within the limitations of Oracle Express Edition. Okay. Any guess? Okay, so it has nearly 2 million records, 2.1 million records. Okay, so the data is all there. So that has been discovered. So when I'm doing the discovery here, I'm going to give the connection details, and in metadata load settings, I'm going to give some basic information about, hey, what I'm doing. I'm doing a profiling job, and what type of profiling I'm doing. I'm doing column profile and data domain discovery, and where the condition is when the source data is only discovered when metadata is matched, and what is my sampling option, and whether I'm doing a value frequency or a similarity profile discovery. This is something you will do, and and then whether you want to do any unique key, primary key and unique key reference discovery, you can still do that. And now you can see that right below, I'm doing a business term association. Okay, I'm now telling that, hey, if you find anything similar that is there in terms of the data, make sure that you assign with the business glossary. I'm telling the EDC guy to do it. Okay, because I'm shared my business glossary with you. You have the data domains, right? And you have we have already assigned the relationship here, saying that if you see this information, what it is trying to say is, okay, first name, full name, and last name. If you find any of them here, buddy, do me one favor, try to associate here. Try to use synonyms and stop words. You are a smart guy. Find if anything synonymous are there in terms of in your data domain, and make sure that you are in your column name and column related information. Use all of that and try to associate with my business glossary. So that's how it will say that, hey, email, yeah, insured party email address, there is a match. Very good. First name, okay, insured party name, yeah, there is some match. Okay, and it helps you to establish these types of relationships. Okay, right? And if you further go drill deep into them, okay, I will, because why insurance party address? In insurance party address, I said, hey, if you find country, if you find city, if you find street name, make sure that it is linked to the business glossary called insured party address. Okay. So now, since I didn't add any credit card in my glossary, so I had kept it blank, so it is not come out with any input. So if I click on email here in the column, what I'm going to see here, right? It shows me some value frequency results. It shows that, hey, it is able to find out the various mail IDs, right? So it is just gives me a very rough information. It shows me the pattern and what type of data type it has found and what are the different data domains it was able to associate with, right? And then if I click on the lineage and impact tab, it is shown some lineage here, right? So it has something seen here. So I'll increase the slider here for impact and say show all. So what it will show me is something interesting here, right? So it says that this sales global, this is highlighted. So the information from sales APJ, EMEA and North America, all this data is now fed into the sales global database, and the further this information is now flowing into various different data stores or data resources here. So there is a definite lineage established due to the PCRS or the Power Center repository connection that has built these mappings, and this is customer has built this. Okay, this is the data moving. Data is moving from Asia Pacific database to some test database or some operations database located somewhere in the world, right? So this is what you are able to see here. So if you click on classic view, it will show me the new view here. Okay, so this is something which some of you, if you have worked on the previous versions of Axon, this is what sorry, EDC. This was not there. This is the new view. It will show me. You can further click on what this data element is, and it will show you that in detail. What are the different data objects and the different data elements associated here? Click on relationships here. It will tell that, hey, this is now this particular field of email in Sales Global is now linked to insured party address, and there are two data domains which which can be associated with this field, right? So you saw the lineage in impact here, right? And now what is it that I'm going to get on the Axon side, right? So now just go back to Axon. I'll go to that insured party address email, this is the glossary. I'll type in email here, hit the button search. It is smart enough. It will find me the insured party email address glossary. Let me click on that. Right, I'm able to see the glossary item here, and this has a lot of information, and how you feed this information. I'll just show you that later on. But before that, let me click on data here. Okay, go to data discovery. It will say that, hey, email is associated with this particular glossary item, right? Click on data sets. So it is able to find one specific data set. Okay, the most important thing is data attributes. So you can see that there is a lot of data attributes to come in here, right? So it says that there are 11 records in this system. All are email columns. This email. If you click on this, you can see that specific attribute, and it will tell me about from where it has come from. Okay, and you can even alter what you want to see here. So you can change the columns here. You can choose your columns. What do you want to see? Okay, whether you want to see the confidence score, right? Whether you want to see the data type, okay, and whether you want to use whether it's a key data element. So there are multiple things that can be shown here, okay. And once you do that, it will populate this information and what is the confidence score of the data that has been discovered. Okay, so this is what you can see. You can set out what and all you want to see on this page. And if you click on this particular attribute, what it will show you. Let's see that. Right. So it will show me about that specific, data set, from where this has come from and what is the data set. And, it will show the actual physical field information and what type of field it is. So all that, relevant metadata is now married into the business metadata here, right? And this is very powerful for end user. So click on email further. When I click on this physical field, what it will happen is it will take me to the a pop-up window. It will tell about all that necessary metadata information about, hey, which data domain it's matching, which data domain groups it's matching, and which is the resource from which it is coming, and what is the customer, what is the customer table, all that information here. If you click on customers, then automatically it will open up on the enterprise catalog side, right? So here it will go and show me that information. It's very compelling here. Now let's go back and show you some things here. Right. So there are multiple fields from where it has come, sales global, email I have. So I can see all that here. The good part here is data map. So what it does is it is smart enough to understand in 7.0 to show that this is linked. So what I did in the beginning was I went in and physically married them. I married the system to the resources here, right? So once I said that they belong to a specific system, that's a good thing. Now, if I click on the dataset lineage, so what it will try to show is at the dataset level, all the lineage that it was there. So this is not, I have not stitched them. So whatever you are seeing here, I can go it and open it in a new page so that it looks more. Okay, so I'll go to dataset lineage. So this is my map view. So this entire, lineage what I had is now, part of the Axon storyline here. Sales data coming from multiple sources, going to sales global, and the further going down the stream. Okay, so this is how this is established here. Okay, so this is what you are able to see on this screen. Okay, if the relationship is now at the glossary level, right? Now I can go one step backwards and I can easily look at this information at the table level. Okay, at the table level, in the sense, irrespective of whatever is my column, I can easily go and see that information. So here, if I go to the data map here, and here I can see that the same information getting loaded, right? Same information is now loaded. It is not loaded at the glossary level. It is now loaded at the system level. Okay. So that is what is now seen in version 7.0. One step which I deliberately missed was the creating this link. Okay. Now let me show you that. How do I set up my relationship between the system and resource? So I can go to manage catalog links. So this is a manual activity which I had to do it only for the first time, where the logical system has to be linked to the physical resource. So what I mean by that is, let's say there are multiple resources. These are all 99 resources. They come from the EDC side. Okay. So all these things that you see are coming from the EDC side. Now let's say I deliberately click in employee here, and I'll say that I have to physically link them here. I can go and click here. I can create a new system on the fly. I have create option, or I can search for the existing systems. Okay, and just I'll pick this just to show you the thing. So the system is now the employee data is now linked to that underwriter system. So now that is physically linked here. I can search, I can is a beta version, so some of them are not. Yeah, it is here, right? So this is the relationship that I've established. Okay, I'll click on this now, underwriter system. Let's see what happens there. If you go to the system, if you click on enterprise catalog, you can see that employee, the resource is linked here, physical fields, nothing will be there. Now, how does this get populated, right? So for that to happen, as I said, there is something called as onboarding, right? So let me go to the place where Axon is. It's in en route user. I'm going to go to the path where that script is. Okay. There's something called Axon underscore asset onboarder. So this is from where the scripts are located. So since you're doing the lab, you may have to run the script manually once. However, what happens in a real case scenario is the script is executed at 2 a.m. every day. And what happens once you do that, once you have performed any manual linking here, and once you have established any linkages, then this will go and pull in all the information from the EDC side into Axon side. It will be fetching all the relationships that are there, the field level relationship, glossary to data domain relationship, or any of that relationship that has been established will be successfully pulled in into the Axon side. And if there are any relationships that have been broken, if some name changes have happened, if you have disengaged any association, or if there are any changes that has happened on the metadata side in the EDC or on this is resource level, even that also will be fetched and updated. Okay, so this is something is happening in the night for you. Okay, and you need not have to physically wait for this, because this happens at every day at 2 a.m. in the morning as of now. Okay, in case you don't run it manually. Okay, so this job will take 3 or 4 or 5 minutes depending upon how much data it is pulling, and this information will tell what and all it is fetching. So you can easily see that information, what and all is happening, and if there is any error, you can trap it in the log file. Okay, let me just see this if the job is over or not. Okay, now the job is done. We can go and find if there are any links that were removed, they were all removed and it has been kept in this file, and you can go and find all that which has happened here. The log files can be seen, and I'll now refresh this page. Okay, see, these are all now been onboarded. You can see the 2 records have been onboarded, and they have been linked to the party date of birth, EDOB, right? And there is a first name column in this table that has been linked to the insurance data subject. So now this is accepted glossary. So it's a good sign here, right? And now if I click on this bell icon at the top, you can see that there are some inputs here. Okay, hey, the job was run today at 13th April at 9:41 p.m. and you can see all that information. See how many uploading was completed, and you can this lists out what and all has happened, how many jobs, how many items were successfully onboarded, and all that information can be seen in this notification for this user. So now if I click on this insurance data subject, right? So, and I can go now to the data tab, and if I click on the data attributes tab, so the new item should be listed somewhere here. Okay, the last item should be the one that will be of interest. E first name is now part of this list here, right? So this is now added automatically, and if there is any lineage associated with that data set, that can now be seen. The underwriter system is now listed under this glossary item just because we assigned that resource. Sit on the data set lineage tab, and if that is If that employee table is linked to any of those other tables, that can be seen. If not, it will be shown as an island in this dataset image map. Okay. So now we have done the first side of the story, right? So what we have done here is we have defined our glossary item, okay, and we have imported that into EDC, right? And we have discovered something on EDC, and somewhere we have said that, hey, make sure that if you're finding something related to the business glossary, make a linkage. So it has internally made those linkages and brought all these things either at the attribute layer and the data attributes for a given glossary. And eventually now if I go and click on impact tab, I may want to see things at a system level, right? So if I go back to the okay, if I go to the INS portal, okay, if I go to the data tab here, now at the system level, okay, right? At the system level, I can see this information, right? All that which has come from that side of the world, that is the physical data world, is now listed here. You can see that there's some 200 plus records. That okay, there are 54 records for this system. So they have all come from the physical world. Okay, and what are the different systems that are linked? I can see all of them here. There are 10 different records that have been linked. Okay, so in that way, I am able to see all that converging, and what are the different physical fields. I can see them over here, right? And some of them may not be associated with glossary. We have to keep that in mind as well. Okay, so some of them may not be associated with the business glossary, like ID. There is an ID field which has come that doesn't have any relevance in my glossary world, so that will be lying as a as a field which is not linked to any glossary, at least at the business glossary level. Okay,